Garage politics. Garage politics. No pedicure, no NPR. Nobody here drives a hybrid car. If the media makes you sick, garage politics.
Come and take them, boys. We welcome you here in the garage. It's a Monday night here in beautiful Florida. It's a little hot and sweaty, but I'm Buzz Rankin.
And I am the Common Patriot.
And the Garage Kings are back here for another show. This is week number 3 on the comeback trail, and I feel each week we're getting a little bit better with each passing one there, Patriot.
That's the idea, man. That's the whole idea. We got to get a little better every week. Just keep pushing the envelope.
Keep pushing the envelope. And we want to keep pushing you all over to our website there. So don't be afraid to jump on over to www.garagepolitics.com. That's right, man. All kinds of good fun stuff there, including the archives. If you're not familiar with who we are, you can go there and see a lot of the old history. Back even when we originally had Jack Raspberry and Guitar Don as part of the garage. We miss those fellas, but hey, the show must go on, man. You know, so, but check us out on over there at garagepolitics.com. Old parody songs, old shows even. You've got a lot of the shows up now, right?
All of the old shows. A little crazy near the end. There were some weird things in some of the recordings I noticed when I was putting them up, but they're all there. Including the positively horrific first show.
Oh, that one, we spoke about that one. We won't go into high detail on that one. That was a lot of...
listen at your own risk.
Yeah. Huddled around one little Hewlett-Packard mic. That's right. We didn't even have condenser mics or anything. That was good old days. Good old days it is. But here we are back in the garage. We're ready to do another show tonight. We're going to jump right into things. And we're going to jump over to a little segment we like to call... They said, what? It's always a little bit of fun here. Hey, look, camera's just on me.
I'm still trying to figure out, though, why the guy who's allergic to cats picked a cat.
It's the look. Let me go back there. It's the look. Look at that cat. How could you not pick it? It's
find
like
an awesome dog with a cool face. I mean, seriously.
Actually, there's looks that look like that cat and sound like that. No, of Joe Biden. So. We could go to one of the Joe ones, but nah, I don't really want to look at him that much. So, anyways, tonight I got a good one for you. So this is on. They said what?
I'm ready.
All right, here you go.
Okay.
So for those of you that hadn't heard this yet, I read a quote, and eventually when we go live, but right now it's just Patriot guessing. But
yeah.
So I'm going to say a quote, and you got to decide.
I'm practicing for the audience.
It is. So you're getting good practice. So just follow Patriot's lead. We'll even give you a little bit of time before he spits out an answer in case you're watching it on YouTube, one of our social media outlets.
I'll pause for a moment.
Yep. So here we go. So the quote is, I just want to say a number, 12. Was it A, Nancy Pelosi? Was it B, Todd Bowles, which is the Buccaneers head coach? Was it C, Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI? Was it D, Joe Biden? Or was it E? Did I make it up?
You got me on this one.
It's not as obvious as the last one.
No. You know, I'm gonna I'm going to go with Christopher Wray.
You're going to go with Christopher Wray after the horrific raid that they found pictures of Hunter doing crack.
Don't get me started.
I know. I shouldn't do that. Actually, it is E.
You made it up.
I kind of made it up.
I wanted to say Biden because he has a problem with numbers. He's always got a problem with numbers, but that seemed too obvious.
It's a partial quote.
Okay.
Okay. So the real number was zero. Was zero.
Oh, that was the quote. Was that the quote about the inflation?
The statement made was by good old Pontius himself, old Sleepy Joe. Last Wednesday, when he was speaking and addressing the country, he made the following statement, and I quote, I just want to say a number, zero. Today, we received news that our economy had zero inflation in the month of July. 0%. Here's what that means. While the price of some things went up last month, the price of other things went down by the same amount. The result? Zero inflation last month.
This is an absolute lie.
Wow.
By the way.
So here it is, though. While Joe bragged about this made-up accomplishment that him and his, administration has done, even his wonderful the biased media, the Associated Press, even reported that it's at a 40-year high, and in July it came in at 8.5%, not zero, 8.5%. And even though pay is increasing and everything else, they're stating it still can't keep up with the inflation. Basically, the president and his administration decided to turn the most basic of economic norms on their head for cheap political gain, kind of like they're doing with the whole we're not in a recession or anything.
Do they do anything that isn't for cheap political gain?
So basically, if you go back and you look at last year's numbers and this year's numbers, it's 0.6% lower. 0.6% lower than last July. So they figured, well, with that, it's zero. Anyways, there's your, they said what?
Oh, my God.
Gotta leave. Good old Sleepy Joe, man. I love that guy, man.
It's amazing, though, that they keep doing this. They literally stood in front of the entire world and said, no. 2 quarters of negative growth does not make a recession. That is not the actual technical definition of a recession. And they had numerous members of the administration on audio and video saying the technical definition of a recession is 2 negative quarters of growth. And
I know.
They just, it's amazing. And they get away with it because the media lets them in, because the average person wouldn't dare question them.
Of course they do.
Anyway.
So it is what it is. I love how lately, have you noticed that all of a sudden, I don't know, there must be something wrong with him. Joe's showing up in a lot of places with aviators on all the time now. He's got constant sunglasses on. Is this guy in a perpetual state of stoned or what?
My guess would be he's probably stoned and they're trying to hide it.
I guess so. Well, with that said, we'll just keep this show rolling tonight. We're going to roll on over into our constitutional moment.
Woo-hoo.
I think Patriot's got a little bit of good constitutional knowledge to lay on us tonight here in this segment.
Well, actually, we're going to go a little bit farther afield this week.
All right.
So
I like going out in the field.
Well, there's a reason for it, though. It'll be made apparent as we get through this.
Our parents are here?
First, no.
I'll stop.
First and foremost, last week we did the preamble, right? So we did the constitutional moment, stuck close to home on the Constitution.
Right.
This week, I wanted to take a moment. I've been, and I hate to keep throwing books and pieces of information at you, but if you have not read Democracy in America, go ahead, get yourself a copy. If you're one of those digital people, do the digital thing. I like to put my notes and everything in it and highlight it.
Or you could be like me and get yourself your own Common Patriot and just press play and let him go at it. I don't have to read a thing, man. It's right there.
So I would encourage you, for starters, if you want to read more, I'm going to highlight a few little notes here tonight, but if you want to read more about what I'm going to talk about tonight, go to chapter 4 and 5 and read about sovereignty and about the organization of government in the United States. Now, keep in mind, Tocqueville's there in the 1830s going through the United States, making comments about the organization of our government, how our nation is run. There's lots of famous little quotes that have come about that people go after. But anybody who has listened to us for a while, and I know that there's probably like 3 of you at the moment. I think they're all in the house down
We
the
actually
street.
got 2 new subscribers today.
Did we
on
really?
YouTube? We got 2 new subscribers.
Oh,
Thank you,
fantastic.
guys. Appreciate y'all subscribe,
Well,
man.
I know that our buddy Todd is listening. That's all we'll say about that. And I know that the family up the street here. I know that the fam listens. Some
Yes.
of them.
Now,
I don't know if the cousins and the extended family have grabbed onto
Actually,
it
we
yet.
got one cousin up in Louisville. We're going to give you a shout out, Phil.
All right,
Appreciate you, buddy.
Phil is he listening? Does he listen to the show?
He listens to the show.
Is.
He
okay,
loves it.
good.
He loves
good.
it.
So it's gonna be a slow rising movement as we go forward.
And you
right?
know what? And I don't mean to interrupt. We forgot to reach out to El Jefe and let him know we're back.
I was just thinking about it today, and I figured since we're pre-recording right now, he's not missing much. So I do want to reach out to him.
Did you hear that, folks? We're not missing much.
We're gonna. No, that's not what I meant. We're gonna reach out to El Jefe so that he's not missing a live show right now.
I got you.
Right.
You know me.
We do want to reach out to him though because
Yes.
he was one of our early adopters.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so I went this week. I went to Democracy in America, Alexis de Tocqueville, and if you've listened to the show for a while, you know that I have hammered for years when we did the show, and even off air over the years, friends of mine and people I know, I have said the problem we have, the thing that will resolve a lot of the issues that we have, is getting back to the basics, back to the community, back to the local level, right? We can reelect presidents. We can put people in the Senate and the House. Personally, and with all due respect to the 2 reasonable politicians in D.C. that are out there?
Pretty much.
Okay.
At this point.
My basic view at this point is that it is basically corrupt, and we are horribly remiss. We forgot about the boys, so we've got like a whole contingent in Texas that listen to the show as well. I forgot about that. I'll have to be beaten for that later.
Shout out to the Big Star boys.
Yeah,
there you go.
Lone Star, not Big Star.
Hey, I can call it what I want.
You can call it whatever you want, but it's still not correct.
Star.
Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked again.
You are.
So I have said from dog catcher to city commissioner, whatever, that's where you need to fix things, right? Because the president is in Washington. Those are not the people that should be running our lives anyway. No. And the reason that we have the out-of-control government, that we have the things going, is because we're not engaged. It's the same problem we've had for decades now with our education system. We stopped being engaged in PTA, PTO, all the other things. We stopped going. Now, I say that knowing there are some families that do this. There are some families that still go to the school. What's going on? What are you doing? What are you teaching my kid? What's happening? The problem is that used to be widespread. That was the rule, not the exception.
Well, but even with those that are engaged like that, they're not getting proper answers. Everything is this almost like just a standardized response that, well, that's how we teach now, or that's what we do. And it's because we've allowed federal government overreach, get in there, take control of things they shouldn't be in.
Absolutely. Great point. So anyway, I decided, I remembered reading this the first time that I went through this, and I wanted to go back because there are some really interesting points I want to bring out here. So I'm going to start in chapter 4, and I ask a little indulgence tonight. I'm not just dialoguing and talking. There's a lot of quotes here and some things that I want to ask questions about.
I'm going to, just so everybody knows, it's not that I don't want to engage. Patriot had a lot tonight, and I'm kind of just... I'm just going to be here kind of agreeing a little bit because he's got a lot of really good points, and I feel it's important to let him have the platform right now.
Thank you. So I'm gonna throw a few quotes at you from Tocqueville in chapter 4. So here's the first one. Quote, "Any discussion of political laws of the United States must always begin with the dogma of the sovereignty of the people." Now, I'm gonna remind you a couple of times. Let's make sure we keep things in context, right? We're talking about the 1830s. We're talking about, 1787, 1791, when we got the Constitution ratified, right? Even after all so you're not talking about a nation that was ratified, fully done, and in its new form for more than 40 years, right?
Right.
Okay. But we forget sometimes, I think, in the midst of everything that we discuss and argue about the Constitution or the laws or the rules or the founders, that this was going on for a long time, right? The Pilgrims landed here in what, 1620? Okay? And so you got a long time period that things were building up and growing here. So Tocqueville comes in and he's going to make this observation on the United States. And one of the things he starts talking about is the makeup of the country, of the government, how we do it. What makes America so different? And one of the reasons I wanted to get at this is because we hear this discussion nowadays about how horrific America is, how terrible this country is, all the terrible things we've done. And, oh, that's just an old rusty or old dusty document. It's not important. Oh, it doesn't apply today. That's all nonsense. We're talking about principles that came up and came about from the study of history, from the study of civilizations long since gone, from millennia of human existence, right? And Tocqueville says here, any discussion of political laws in the United States must begin with the dogma of the sovereignty of the people. Well, here's the next one in pursuance of that. Sovereignty of the people is to be found at the bottom of nearly all human institutions. It usually remains buried there. Now, that struck me when I read it the first time, and even tonight in reading it and preparing for it, it struck me because there's a truth there that we don't discuss a lot, right? So I asked the question in my notes, why? Why does it remain buried there? Because whether it's Mao or Stalin or Pol Pot, okay, or Chavez or Castro or any despot or kings of history or any other people that would rule over the people, right, know a simple truth, something that we don't really talk about day to day, and that is, I don't care what your form of government is. Ultimately, at the bottom of that institution is the sovereignty of the people. Now, the despots and the dictators and the rulers, they don't want to talk about it because they don't want the people getting the idea, hey, you're really strong, and if you ever realize that and step out of the shadows, we're done, right?
Which has happened throughout history through revolutions.
When people realize they have the power. Now, unfortunately, in a lot of those revolutions, a handful of powerful people have stepped in and taken the reins of that revolution, that movement, and taken it away from the people, right? So you end up with, same problem, new boss, right? So the will of the nation, quote, is one phrase, this is something Tocqueville said, one phrase generally used by despots of every age. The will of the nation. I'm doing the will of the nation. And I wanted us to think about how our press, our politicians, think about the things that you hear all the time in modern day America. We're doing the work of the people. We're doing the work of the nation. We're carrying out the will of the American people. They don't ever want to stand up and tell you what they're doing is right. They don't want to tell you it's constitutional. They don't want to, because they know that a lot of the things they do are not. They know that what they're doing is trying to pull the wool over your eyes. Right. So what do they use as cover? Well, we're doing the work of the American people. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're doing your own work.
Exactly.
Okay? And again, I'm kind of ripping through some of these. We're gonna start moving a little bit faster. Here's another quote. In America, the sovereignty of the people is neither hidden nor sterile. Think about that. The sovereignty of the people is neither hidden nor sterile.
And that's a big word that ties into that.
Yes. As with some other nations, mores recognize it. The laws proclaim it. It spreads with freedom and attains unimpeded its ultimate consequences. All right? I'm going to move on to the next one. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute and why I'm going through these. Now, in some countries, authority influences from the outside the body social to progress in a certain direction. In other nations, in other societies, it's divided. Some control inside, some control outside. Nothing of the sort is to be seen in the United States. Now, this was Tocqueville talking and saying to the people back in Europe, to his audience, saying, nothing of this sort is to be seen in the United States. Society acts by and for itself, okay? It acts by and for itself. No authorities except those within itself. It doesn't accept any, it doesn't go for any authority outside. And it is hard to meet anyone who would dare to conceive, much less suggest, of seeking power elsewhere. Now, that's another big point that I wanted to get to, and here's the commentary on it. I want you to think back to some of the Supreme Court justices, even some of our senators and representatives, even people in the media. I've heard these discussions in the media take place. And you pick your favorite pet subject or issue or problem, and what you get is, well, we should be more like Australia. Well, if we were more, Europe doesn't do it that way. Why aren't we more like Europe? Well, all right, I'm going to beg your indulgence for just a moment because I've got a couple comments about that. Let's start with Europe, okay? Yeah, Europe doesn't do it that way. You know why we don't do it that way? Okay, because we kicked England's ass in a revolution, so we didn't have to do it that way.
I was just getting ready to say, notice they don't rule over here.
Okay?
That's why.
So that's one of the things that I get sick of hearing. I get tired of hearing people try to tell us, well, we should be more like Europe. They're more deliberative and they're reasonable. They're reasonable people.
Go to Europe.
Then go live in Europe.
You betcha.
Right? If you like the way Australia does it, go down to Australia where they were putting people in camps for COVID. Go live down there. Okay?
Go for you shrimp on the barbie.
Enjoy yourself. I'm not saying that, Australia is a wonderful place, but if that's where you want to live, go. That's a point I want to make tonight. It's going to be a theme as we go through this show forever, right? And I know some people think it's trite or it's cliched. They don't care for it, but it's a simple truth, right? If you want to be part of this American experiment in freedom and this republic, if you love this place, come here.
That's been and the thing is,
okay,
what we have here has been sought after.
Yes.
Worldwide. They come from truly oppressed nations and countries to seek peace and the ability to have freedom here.
Yes. And if you want to share that freedom with us, if you want to become part of what we are and who we are, I welcome you. But if your purpose is to come here and tell me, it's a terrible place, you are horrible people, what a bunch of racists and bigots and homophobes, you hate everybody. Well, if we're so terrible, why on God's earth would you want to live here?
That's just like every celebrity that ever goes, oh, if they don't do this or this person gets elected or this rule gets made or this law gets revoked, I'm leaving the country. Well, guess what? All you head in the cloud celebrities that want to threaten that, leave.
You notice they never leave.
We don't need you. I noticed that. Not a one of them is left. Not Oprah.
Never.
Not Tom Hanks. Not any of them that are all so offended about everything. If you're so offended, go somewhere else.
But the bottom line on that whole point is, okay, you've got these politicians and judges that regularly extol the virtues of these other nations and everything. Fine. Go there, right? But the truth is, our authority is here. The supreme authority of the United States is the Constitution. We are a nation of laws. I hate to break it to a lot of these politicians and these leftists and these media freaks. Okay, I'm going to say this one time. I know everybody said it. I've heard tons of other radio hosts and people say these sorts of things, but here's a secret for those of you who don't know it. This is not a democracy. We do not have a democracy. Democracy is mob rule. 51% and you're done.
Right.
That's it. We have a nation of laws. We have a constitutional republic, okay? It's a representative republic. We have representatives. Now, we used to have a bicameral legislature where it represented the people in the states. We don't have that so much anymore after the 17th Amendment, but we can talk about that on another show. So here was the last comment out of Chapter 4. I thought this was so important because we don't feel this way anymore. And the truth is that we've abdicated a lot of our power and our responsibility as people in the United States. This was Tocqueville's quote. The people rule over the American political world as God rules over the universe. And that is absolutely. The American people in the founding generation had the wherewithal, the knowledge, the strength, and the will to stand up and take their future, their freedom, and their lives into their own hands and make of it what they would. They did not stand by and let the federal government or any other government tell them how they would live, what they would do, and where they would go and when they could do what they wanted to do. It just didn't happen. So anyway, we're probably going to run a little long on this because the soapbox is going to be a little short, but it's also kind of tied into this.
Well, that's what I kind of figured. I was waiting for you to actually give me a cue and say, hey, I'm ready to go to my soapbox.
Yeah, no. So I think we're actually almost going to, I'm going to do this out of Chapter 5 real quick, and then we're going to run it on over into the soapbox.
Like I told everybody, told you, man, he was fired up today. He was down at my house before dinner, and we're sitting there, and I'm like, yep, I'm going to have to just cut everything a little short and let Patriot go at it, man.
Yeah. So let's go to chapter 5. Okay. These were some of the points I took out. Now, here again, these are things I wanted to reiterate. I want people to talk about this stuff because there's lots of things that come off of this that have been shooed away and ignored in our current political environment. Most of your politicians and people that don't look at anything historical will tell us all the time, no, that's not the case. Well, Tocqueville said near the beginning of chapter 5, there are 24 little sovereign states who together form the United States. Now, again, 1830, right? But he makes the point that so many people have made over the years, and the left just does not want to hear it. The states are sovereign. This is not just some conglomeration of people. We're not just a national audience, okay? And that's important because it was meant in the system of federalism that, okay, California, you want to be Fruits and Nuts Central? That's fine. Go ahead. It's okay.
That's good. Fruits and nuts.
It's all right. That's it's your state to run. Do not come to the federal government for solving your problems.
No.
Run your own stuff. See, we've got this cycle now where the federal government reaches in, takes all this tax out of here, and then it comes back to the states and says, hey, you want a block grant? We'll give you a grant for that education system, but we're going to need you to do a few things for us, right? See, that's got to stop. That stuff has to stop because that's just exactly reverse the process. The states are supposed to be responsible for themselves and their people. You have what you want to have there. And look, when you don't like the way things function, we've said it before, you don't like the way things are in North Carolina or South Carolina, or go to Fruits and Nuts Central. Go to the Rotten Apple. Spend your time there.
And one of the things that gets old about that whole process too is you got all these people that live in these blue states. The blue states are broken. They get mad because of the taxes. They get mad because of the cost of living and everything else. So they leave that state.
Yes.
And they come to a red state like Florida.
And then start voting the same way they've voted.
And the thing is, then they come down here and want to change to mirror the state they just left. Guys, you could go wherever you want, but when you're leaving something because the situation has become so bad for you, don't try to change it somewhere else. You moved because it was that bad. Quit trying to make everything that bad.
Yes.
Like our government, making everything that bad.
So Tocqueville recognized this. He recognized that. And here's an important piece of the discussion, too. He says the federal government was the last to take shape. Now, you will find in today's discourse and conversations with anybody on the left, they're going to tell you, hey, the federal government is supreme. You need to go there. That's where we get all of our solutions. We're going to answer all of our problems. But the truth is, I challenge you. I spent time with the Constitution reading it this week just to make sure I didn't overlook something, right? Go ahead and read the Constitution, one end to the other, including the Bill of Rights. I challenge you to find for me anything in the Constitution that explains how we structured the states. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff in how we created the executive branch, the legislative branch, the judicial branch, how we handle all these things. Then there's the Bill of Rights about how the rules apply to the federal government, things they can't do to us and all that. But there's nothing in there about why. Why is there nothing in there about how they form the states? Because the states form the federal government. That's why. Okay? It's a simple answer. It's not complicated. The great political principles which now rule American society were born and grew up in the state. Okay? And the main piece I want people to see if they will take time to go read that, at least that part of Democracy in America. He talks about this segregation or the separation of the different levels of government in the United States. Right. The township, the county, and the state, right? That's the big things he talked about. And I don't want to go too deep into it, but he talks about how the level of control and the attention to how things happen in the township, right? In the county and that. And one of the things he made a point about was that a very civilized society finds it hard to tolerate attempts at freedom in local community. I want you to think about our country today. Oh, we're so civilized, right? We're so civilized we want to go back to being Europe, right? The federal government doesn't want, the left is horrified that you might get together with the people in your community and freedom might start breaking out all over the place again. And I don't mean freedom like we talk about from a boilerplate concept.
No.
I mean real freedom, where you're truly governing your lives, where you're truly governing the things that belong to you, the education, your children.
You're having an impact and a decision, the powerful decision on your children's lives and your community and how things transpire within that community.
Yes. And Tocqueville said the township is so well rooted in nature that it forms itself. It's something that just happens. You put people together, you're going to get a township, no matter what kind it is. And he says, it seems to spring direct from the hand of God. God forbid. We can't talk about that nowadays, right? Here's the other thing that I'll finish, and then we're going to go to our soapbox, right? The strength of free peoples resides in the local community. This is where I wanted to bring the circle back around to this point that he made, right? The strength of the free peoples resides in the local community. Township. Now, at that time in 1830, generally it was 2,000 to 3,000 people in a township. Not too large for all the inhabitants to have roughly the same interests, and large enough, however, that there was plenty of talent for administration. Now, today, everyone would say, well, we can't do that. We can't count 2,000 or 3,000 people. It'd be ridiculous. Wait a second. We've got technology for communication and organizing and getting together and sharing interests that we never had then. We can have communities now that are well within the bounds of the cities and the towns and everything that we've got spread all over the country. What we need to do is have the will to exercise our rights, to use that technology to rebuild our communities, right? And there's so much that springs from the concept of a community that means those communities having the ability to become harmonious locations where the people living in the community are doing what's right for them, for their children, for their families, for their community, right? Without having to worry that the community on the road does things a little bit differently. So what? So what? That's the point, folks. You cannot have 300 plus...
We're not supposed to be robots.
You can't have 300 plus million people living under the blanket of one nation and try to put them all in the same box and have them all feel the same way and do that. It does not happen. Never going to happen. I don't care how hard you try. Anyone who is trying to do that is trying to implement despotism and tyranny, because the only way to control that many people and without having to try to make everybody happy is the same way the Soviet Union did it.
Participation award mentality.
Okay?
That's what that is.
If you're looking to do that, that's where you're heading for. You're heading for the Soviet Union. So, we're going to wrap up the constitutional moment there. Go read Democracy in America by Alexis de Tocqueville, and let's head for some soapbox and build on this.
The chance for Patriot to drive it on home.
Yeah. Okay. You know where I'm going with this to start, right?
Well, yeah. It's like, here we go. We're just... Keep on going, man.
Okay.
Keep on going. You had that going right.
So, I say all of that in the constitutional moment. I bring all of that up to sort of circle back around. And I'm going to say again, look, we're on Monday night. All the stuff from the weekend is gone. You know, you've already had a whole day of all of the A-plus folks out there, the Mark Levins and the Will Cows and all the others and the
and
Glenn
now you
Becks.
got Buzz over here
Right?
munching on cookies while Patriot does his thing.
It's okay, man. You're good. So I wanted to take a slightly different route at the friendly gathering at Mar Lago, right? It's the friendly gathering at Mar Lago. Our FBI agents needed a vacation, so they ran on down to West Palm and they shot over to Donald Trump's home at Mar Lago. So let's talk about that for a second.
They're bound determined they're going to destroy him.
Well, I think that's exactly where it's going. But let's just hit a couple of high notes or low notes, however you want to look at it. My understanding is you got 20 plus boxes of documents coming out of there, right? That they took out. Plus they spent an hour or more in Melania's
Underwear drawer?
in her closet and her boudoir, as it were. Okay. In the basic comments I've heard from several Secret Service agents, FBI agents, so-called experts on policing and warrants and what have you throughout the course of the time since the raid, is that what this amounted to was sort of a general warrant, right? But you're not really supposed to issue. You're not supposed to issue general warrants, right? If you read the Constitution, it tells you it has to be specific as to the place and the location and everything like that.
Exactly.
Not doing that. Which is also, by the way... that's loaded with information we can get into regarding the Patriot Act and all that nonsense, Homeland Security and the BS that we put up with from them. But also noted several times this week, I heard people talking about the idea, look, President Trump was fully within his rights. He declassified that information before they left the Oval Office. He's free to do it. But I want to talk for just real quick, and it's been brought up by some other hosts. The idea is every president walks away with some of this stuff. This happens all the time. It's not that big of a deal. The National Archives, of course, wants this stuff. A lot of this stuff ends up in the president's library eventually, right? Oh, yeah. Clinton did it. Obama.
I was going to say, even Hillary Clinton, look at all that crud she had.
If I understood correctly what I was looking at, and I admit, I did not go digging too far into it. I get hives every time I go near Obama's stuff. But Obama apparently took millions of documents with him. They put him in an old furniture store in Chicago somewhere, right? Spent just ridiculous, right? Now, you haven't seen them raiding his place. They didn't raid Clinton's presidential library to get his documents that they wanted in the National Archives, right? We heard all the stuff about Hillary Clinton. Now, not only did she have documents, okay, let's not forget the fact that Trump's documents were in boxes in a locked room in Mar Lago. Anybody who wanted those documents had to actually breach the grounds, get it past the Secret Service agents, go in there and take the documents, okay? Not that any foreign intelligence agencies are interested in napkins he wrote information on and what have you. Hillary Clinton actually put thousands, tens of thousands of emails. It was like, what was it, 40,000 emails were on her server, something. I forget how many. She had phones of people working for her. They beat them with hammers. They did bleach bit on hard drives. They deleted all these emails. You're talking about stuff that was on a server that was available to foreign intelligence agencies and every 2-bit hacker that decided they wanted to get in and grab something. That was fine. It's not a problem. It's okay. It's all good. No.
Part of the whole
don't worry about that.
Double standard.
Now, I'm not even going to go off on Hunter Biden because he's not a president. He's not the politician. But for sure, somebody needs to look into that mess, okay? Crack hookers and everything else, and that's okay. I'd be more concerned with all the deals he's made with China and Russia and other countries where he's been over there getting daddy rich. Ukraine, by the way. We don't even want to go down that rabbit hole right now. But I think all of this that's been going on, the way they handled the warrant, the fact that, the left, they can tell you anything they want. I don't care what the media says. I don't care what Joe Biden or any of them say, okay? These are not pictures of integrity that we're dealing with here, okay? They have lied. The entire 4 years that Trump was in office, plus the time leading up to his election, they have lied. They have tried to pin Russia collusion on him. You're talking about people that have no problem manufacturing evidence, lying, cheating, anything they can to hold power, get power, whatever. And I'm supposed to believe that when they already knew where the documents were, okay, people from the National Archives had requested additional locks, which the Secret Service installed. They had been to the room, seen the boxes, knew where everything was. They knew what was there, okay? I'm just going to say, there's no way I'm believing that there was an ulterior motive for doing this as a raid. And I think that what they did was go down there with the intention of finding anything they could find, and if they couldn't find it, you will have very little trouble convincing me that they came in there with you kept the attorney out, you didn't let anybody see the warrant when you went in to do it. I fully expect in the coming days before the midterm elections, fully expect them to come out and not only say they have evidence, I fully expect criminal charges against Trump. I absolutely expect that they are going to charge him with whatever they've, cooked up, right? So I've said that. Let me just wrap up with this, right? What I've told you about Tocqueville, about communities, about our local elections, doing things we need to do. Folks, it's time to start remembering the foundations of our nation. It's time to remember that regardless of all the rhetoric and everything else, regardless of the troubled times that we're in and the things that are going on, we have to remember we are the source of power, okay? We have to hold on to our faith, hold on to our belief in this republic, okay? Stop letting the federal behemoth drag us around. If we focus on controlling education, zoning, and what's in our local bailiwick, we can start down the path of getting rid of Leviathan, getting this thing off of our neck, taking our nation back. I know it's not easy. I know it's, right now it looks like an impossible task. It looks like something that we just couldn't possibly do.
Yeah.
But you know what? We have a tremendous heritage. We have great people in our history and our family lines. You know what? I think it's time for us to start focusing on getting that done.
And as a whole, we need to wake up, folks. You need to wake up. If you think that this is only happening at high levels, it's not, guys.
No.
It's getting closer and closer to being right at your front door. Your freedoms, your rights, your liberties stripped from you. You're watching the left hand. You have no idea what the right hand's doing, and the federal government's all about that misconception and that deceit that they do. So, guys, wake up. Quit worrying about which side you stand on. Oh, I'm a Democrat. Oh, I'm a Republican. Piss on all that because they're all corrupt.
Yep.
Be an American.
Yep.
Be a patriot. Stand up for what's right. Stand up for the values that this country was built on. And let's get back to being patriots that get pissed off when you screw with our freedom. And that there.
And don't think for 1 millisecond that those 87,000 new IRS agents they want to hire. By the way, they were putting out an ad that they've already taken down, looking for IRS agents who were willing to use deadly force. What the hell is that?
Why do you need that? If you're collecting our money, but you need to use deadly force. Give us our $1,000. Bang.
Don't think they're just going after millionaires either, buddy.
It's not. So we're going to remind you one last time, guys. Check us out on our website, garagepolitics.com. Heck, if you're reminiscent of the old ways, garagepolitics.net. You can go there, check it out. Check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter.
Yep.
And what's
Rumble.
And soon we might have someone willing to run TikTok for us.
We're looking at trying to put up a TikTok. Now, that won't be like the show's net. It'll be some other interesting stuff, but it'll be kind of cool.
Might be so. You might have some bloopers behind the scenes. Stuff
I thought
like
we might
that.
get into that. I thought also maybe we do a little show prep thing once in a while.
Yep.
And when we start working, when I start trying to drag Don into doing some parody songs for us, maybe that'll be a great place to throw our parody songs at.
That might be a good idea. Who knows? Maybe even follow Patriot and I throughout our normal lives. Maybe even out on the golf course.
Oh, dear God, you don't want to follow me.
You should see the stuff
I am
over
the
at the golf course.
boringest human being.
You are not, only because I make you fun. That's okay. Hey, guys, we appreciate you tuning in. Yet again, support us. Get over to YouTube, subscribe. The more subscribers we get, the closer we get to going live.
That's right.
And we appreciate everybody that has supported us and all you newcomers that come in. If you like what you hear, drop us a line. Make a comment on any of our social media. We'll respond back to you. But for now, we're going to wrap this up this week. We're going to thank y'all, and we're just going to say goodbye from the garage.
See you next week.